Leaked U.S. strategy on Ukraine sees corruption as the real threat.
Here's a summary of the article.
The administration wants to press Ukraine to cut graft, not least because U.S. dollars are at stake. A second U.S. official familiar with the discussions confirmed to Politico reports that the Biden administration is talking to Ukrainian leaders about potentially conditioning future economic aid on reforms to tackle corruption and make Ukraine a more attractive place for private investment. William Taylor, a former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, said many ordinary Ukrainians will likely welcome the strategy because they, too, are tired of the endemic corruption in their country. The document says that fulfilling American objectives for Ukraine includes making good on U.S. promises of equipment and training to help Ukraine's armed forces fend off the Kremlin's attacks. Although the NATO military alliance is not close to allowing Ukraine to join, the American strategy often cites a desire to make Ukraine's military adopt NATO standards. The strategy says the U.S. is helping the accounting chamber of Ukraine enhance its auditing and related work in part so it can track direct budget support from the United States. The U.S. strategy appears intent on ensuring that Ukraine not only retains its orientation toward the West but that it develops special ties with America.
This post received a score of 7,100, with an upvote ratio of 93%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Unfortunately, these worries about corruption in Ukraine aren't exactly unreasonable. Ukraine is the second most corrupt country in Europe according to indexes. The only European country that's more corrupt than Ukraine is Russia. The logistics of which are easily targeted by Ukraine, as a result. Getting rid of corruption is like getting rid of a tumor, it will take a long time.
It's ironic that Russia relied on corruption in Ukraine as part of their 3 days to Kiev push. Russian agents were supposed to be bribing a bunch of Ukrainian officials so that there would be little to no resistance for the Russian forces once they showed up. But due to Russia's own internal corruption, the payoff money never made it to the Ukrainian targets.
And some of the Ukrainians took the money and then didn't do what the Russians asked. Lol.
These stories do make me wonder if these officials intended to do what they were paid to do, but chickened out, switched allegiances again when Ukraine didn't collapse immediately. It seems Russia has assumed the government would essentially flee or be captured almost immediately in the invasion, so that would align. Edit, added words.
I'd say that's pretty likely. Cowardice is usually a trait of the corrupt, that's why they have no integrity in the first place.
So corrupt that even bribes won't make them do shit.
If someone will cheat with you, they'll cheat on you.
No shit. Corruption was a major cause of the Maidan Revolution, that led directly to the first Russian invasion in 2014. It's a deep-seated cancer that's left over from the Soviet era. This isn't a secret and has been openly talked about by the US and Ukraine for years. Ukraine has been making strides to fight it, especially now that Zelensky has wartime powers, but there's considerably more that needs to be done. It will likely remain the focus of US support after the war is over because that will give Ukraine much better chances at joining either or both the EU and NATO.
To add on the other major cause, that was the desire to move closer to the West, EU, that was blocked by the previous president that was a Russian crony. I think it's important to highlight that Ukraine had sought to become closer to the EU since the dissolution of USSR. But Russian influence in the Ukrainian government did not help, and accumulated in the 2014 Ukrainian revolution and crisis, and now we see climaxing in the current war.
Russian crony, sure, but he was elected.
So was Poroshenko.
Did anyone actually read the article? 'Cause the comments read like two groups of people who read the title and are now having a fight. Y'all read the fucking article. This is not Samaha about corruption in Ukraine. It's also not the US being hypocritical about corruption. This is information that has been readily available and a more in-depth look into the strategy that is being used. None of it is derogatory or even surprising.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.